Hello, everybody. It's Jake Senziano, host Jake Gino podcast here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, chef, the father, six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barber. Gino, how's it going?
I'm doing good, Jake. How you doing, brother?
Always making it happen, big man. Today's guest is the founder of FastWill, a revolutionary platform making estate planning simple, fast, and accessible for everyone. Gino, I think you have a story about it. We're not going to get to it, but that might have helped you back in the day. We'll touch on that a little bit later. In today's episode, we're going to dive into the future of digital estate planning and how FastWill is transforming the way we prepare for the inevitable. So without further ado, Zach Tsakiris, welcome to the show.
Jake, Gino, thank you guys so much for having me on.
So before the show, we got into a little bit how you've been bouncing around the country, but you come from a real estate background, it sounds like, within the family. How did you get into the end-of-life planning here?
Yeah, so I come from, again, my dad and his brother were in the land space. I grew up wanting to do completely the opposite of that, just to remove myself from that world. That business gave me such a headache.
Drag you right back in, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And that business gave me such a headache. I saw how it worked from a pretty young age, and I just didn't really want to be involved in it. I think I wanted to kind of set myself apart. Nothing wrong with that business. I think maybe I just was like, hey, I kind of want to do my own thing, get into something else. Right after college, I got into financial services, mainly on the protection side. So doing a lot of life insurance, disability insurance, and managing a lot of 401ks and 403bs as well. I used to work with nurses quite a bit. I always say, when you pass your licenses, when you first go out as an advisor, it is very hard to find clients. You're fresh, you're new, you have no sales ability, and you also don't really understand the issues of these older people. If you're doing retirement planning, you kind of have to resonate with someone going through retirement. When you're 23, 24, you have no idea what you're doing. So it's very hard to do. So what a lot of people do is they bounce around to different niches to try and learn a little bit extra in the business, put more tools in the toolbox. So one of the first things, for example, is I pursued nurses, and I would go and review group benefits, disability policies, and I'd supplement with private disability. So like really niche stuff like that. And eventually, again, I bounced around over the years, was moderately successful. I started to improve at the end, and I ended up in the estate planning niche. And I would work with an estate planning attorney doing a lot of high net worth planning. So ILITs, slats and grats and stuff like that. And just being in the business, working with clients and working with a lot of his mid-tier clients, I just noticed how much people were paying for these sort of basic documents, especially here in New York. Even a basic will, you can pay $1,500, $2,000, and it's way north of that for a trust. And I would work with these clients, and we would have these conversations, and I just realized really people are just paying too much for these basic documents. And I was able to partner
they're very in depth too. Like, it depends how controlling you want to be. Especially, you're talking like a slat. It's like the kid's going to get money when he's 35, but if they can pass a drug test and if they do this, so it depends how deep you can get very involved in this stuff to the point where it's going to cost a lot of money just due to the attorney time involved. No?
See, it would seem like that, but you'd be surprised that 90% of attorneys use software already. They're just doing it behind the scenes. They're just not. So, for example,
and they're billing the robot time,
billing the hour. Exactly. So, for example, that was something that I was unfamiliar with getting to this business. I think I imagined like a dark room with a quill, like someone writing this thing out, and a lot of it is just software. So. One of our partners in the business, Seth Slessel, he has a large law firm here in Long Island. He's a estate planning attorney. We actually went into the software that he was using, a big software platform, and just expanded upon that to create our system. And then, kind of killing two birds with one stone. We have a nationwide attorney support network. So we were able to bring those documents to all 50 states and get them 2025 compliant, make sure they're, compliant with all state laws. And also provide that attorney support network, because obviously with our platform, you can do it from home. That's really the main convenience of that.
So each one is state specific, state approved. That's awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely. We even have the state advanced care directive forms that they make you submit to the state anyways. But yeah, touching on that attorney support network, just the last thing was, if people do need that line by line review after they finish their plan, we have that too.
I just needed to mention this. You said you left the real estate industry to get into the financial services industry.
No shit, Gino. Good point, bro.
I mean, you're going from the pot to the kettle. Is
He's
that what they're
selling
saying?
eyelid slats and grats. He's going to the ball game, bro.
I'm just saying, like, for all my financial people out there, that's I don't know what they're both very challenging industries. They're both cutthroat industries, and I think AI is coming for your jobs, baby. You guys better buckle up, buttercups, because things are changing.
He's
and
like,
what I
it's
love
already
about
happened.
what I love about what you're doing is, I mean, you're making it accessible to the average person. 70% of people in this country do not have an estate plan. That means that 100% of the people in this country, those 70%, they do have it. It's just the state's plan. That's the problem.
Exactly.
That's the issue. Start off with a couple of things that people do wrong when they estate plan, other than the obvious of not getting around. People saying, "Oh, I don't have any money. I don't really need one. I'm going to leave it all to the kids." Well, you're screwing the kids that way, because then the kid's going to get it and go, "I want it. I want it." You started infighting with generations. Is that the legacy that you want to lead? Is that what you want to leave? You know, if you're listening to this right now, give us some ideas or pointers on some of the mistakes that you see people make when they're estate planning or not creating an estate plan.
Number one mistake, I would say, is thinking that you have to be ultra wealthy or something like that to have a trust. I think most people, they're familiar with a will, they've heard about it. Most people put it way off, as you said, Gino. But I think there's this misconception, like, you know, maybe they get it from like trust fund kids or just kind of the stigma around it. Like, you need like $20 million, $50 million to have a trust, which is just not the case at all. I mean, anyone who owns a home, anyone who's saving for retirement, who has kids, you need a trust to get out of the probate process. And Gino, you hit the nail on the head, which is that you have a will. It's just the government's will. You know, you have a will already. You know, you can either decide to make those decisions for yourself or let the government make them for you, which is called dying intestate, when you die without a will. But you're still going through the probate process.
Which do you think is going to be better, something you set up for yourself or something the government is setting up for you? Right?
Jake, have you ever gone to the DMV and been
That's
like,
exactly what I was thinking.
This is amazing, right? This is perfect, right?
It's the best service I've ever experienced in my life. I'd like to go back.
And that's getting your driver's license.
Yeah.
I mean, what about these massive decisions? Like, you know, one of the things I always talk about that is just mind blowing to me, and I think a lot of other people too, is that the state can actually appoint guardianship over your children if they're under 18. And a lot of people don't know that. Yeah, right. I mean, it's terrible.
I send my kids to school to become communists anyways. So
yeah, exactly. So I'm just a huge advocate for that. I'm just a huge advocate for taking 15, 20 minutes to just get this stuff done. Do it in your bed, do it on your couch. It's easy. You know, you can even notarize your documents from home. And I think a lot of people, like a lot of stuff, we all put stuff off. We actually stress ourselves out more putting it off than just the 10, 15 minutes it would take to do it. And then, Jake, touching on another thing that you said in terms of how detailed we're getting, you'd be very surprised how detailed software can get. I mean, for example, we have a pet section, a social media section. You can request to play a certain song at your funeral, lots of customizations like that.
So he's setting up the parties, you know, he's party planning here.
All the things that you would think, oh, I need to go to a real estate planning attorney to do this. A lot of this stuff is included. And then, of course,
Gino's got Sebastian Maniscalco emceeing his funeral already. So, you know.
Oh, that guy's great.
That
guy's great. Yeah, I love Sebastian.
So, Zach, before I ask my next question, I would both say to you, in Florida, in St. Johns County, go to the DMV down here. It is phenomenal. Like, seriously, like, I'm not even joking. Like, you walk in.
Gino loves Florida, so just take it with a grain of salt. Okay.
Listen, the way they run it down here, just Google. I'm being completely honest.
He came from Russia, okay, folks. Don't take that with a grain of salt.
I mean, like, I understand New York's terrible, but the one down here, the same lady's been working there for the last 10 years. You walk in, you pick a thing. I mean, they give you your license plate. It's now, when you first register, it's not cheap, but I am shocked
Gino's
at how well.
Gino's the first person to ever promote a DMV in the entire.
I was going to say, I got to change my spiel now. I have no idea
St.
about
John's
this.
County in Florida is amazing. Like, I can't believe how well run it is.
Good old Mary Beth there. She's been there since the 70s. She gives me a biscuit every time I come. I got you, dude.
I ain't lying to you. Then you go get your concealed carry permit. That's even better. You get it in like 3 days down here. It's incredible. So it can be done. Like these services can be done. So don't knock all DMVs. Maybe this may be the unicorn. I don't know. But
I'll
anyway,
never make that mistake again.
I don't,
Listen,
Gino. I usually believe you. I don't believe you.
Jake. Anyway, Zach, what led you to do this work? Because it's not like one day you wake up and go, I'm going to take the next 5 years of my life, move to New York City, grind my face off, and just like, hey, I just want to start a company working on estate plans. Were there any stories, anything that came into your life and said, I want to really make a change in the world?
So I'll preface by saying I've always wanted to have a business. I've always been an entrepreneur. It's always been my dream to own my own company. I don't necessarily have a personal story as in, my mom passed away and I need, so nothing like that. I think
saw a need.
For absolutely. I saw an area with a lot more demand than supply. And I also worked in the industry. That was one of the things that I was going to talk to you guys about a little bit later on, was just the B2B side of the business. And just, we do a lot of enterprise software. We work with a lot of group benefits companies. We have lots of SaaS platforms for advisors. So that's kind of the side of the business that I came from. So Jake, alluding to your point, I saw a big need, especially on the advisor side, to prospect for new clients, to work with their clients. I understood that part of the business pretty well. So I knew I could create a product for them that they could use to help manage portfolios, to give wills and trusts to their clients. And then Jake, again, as you alluded to, I just saw a big need for it. I looked at what was out there and I just said, I can do this better. I think this is too corporate. I think it needs to be more casual. I think it needs to be non-intimidating and friendly and easy. And I saw a need for that. And again, I tried to fill that. And I think we have.
I think the other thing too is you go on and you're like, I need a slat, and you go on to Google like attorneys with slats, in St. Johns County or whatever, and you get very minimal information. There's no price disclosures. There's nothing to make you feel comfortable. It's the whole like financial world posturing to make you feel dumb with words that you never heard before. And so it gets to the point where like, I just want to go shop like I'm going to buy anything else, cut the bullshit. So, have you guys cut through any of that?
I think we have. And one of the ways I think that we do that is with content. We had a lot of success, especially on our B2C side, with meta ads and stuff like that, and just changing the landscape and literally just filming videos right here, just talking about these concepts of just why you need to trust, what probate is, all of these things. And I think that really mixed it up for people, because I think with a lot of other companies, I think as companies grow, you get more investors, more VCs involved. I think the marketing becomes very disconnected. It becomes very corporate, and there's just a certain distance that created there. It becomes very corporate. And I think that creates a need for people that don't want to go that road and just want to have something that's non-intimidating, very easy to use, very simple, that also gives you all that same detail that you'd get meeting with an estate planning attorney, state specific. And one of the big differentiators we have is the remote notarization, which is huge, because you can actually notarize your documents and make them official from home, which is great. And if you see a lot of the issues with competitors and stuff like that, you'll see these reviews saying, hey, they said this is a do it at home solution, and I had to go out to a bank to get it notarized. So yeah,
dude, I'll tell you right now, when I set up my slat, first of all, it was word of mouth, finding the person, because I tried the search and whatever, and I'm talking, I had an okay experience, but it was hours and meetings face to face to get this thing. And Gino, I mean, I don't know how long it's taken you.
Going through the process right now, so I'm almost done with it right now. But it's like it's painful, and it's just it is time.
No less than 2 months to set mine up, maybe 3.
Yeah. Zach, let me ask you, in the multifamily space, they haven't disrupted it yet. There's still like pocket listings, off-market deals. And when it comes to finance, it's like good luck trying to go on a platform and trying to find a finance solution for a deal. Why is it taking so long? Or what are your thoughts of why your space hasn't been disrupted? Is it because they just want to make it nebulous and they want to, for lack of a better word, they want to be able to charge fees? And I'm just trying to understand, because it seems like your solution pretty much cuts through all that. And it seems like you're one of the first disruptors, because I haven't heard of any other platforms trying to do this.
Well, I appreciate that. And I think we're in an industry right now that's sort of bullish and recession proof at the same time. And I guess breaking both of those down, I mean, recession proof, unfortunately, people are going to continue dying. There's, a continuous need for wills and trusts and estate planning. And then on the bullish side, I'd ask you guys, do you think more people will be making wills or trust online in 20 years than today? Probably more, right? It could be less, but probably more. So I think
I
we're in
don't
a
see how it could be, more people or less people online. It doesn't make any sense with the rest of the trends, right?
It's as simple as that, right? And I also think there's a certain stigma meeting with an attorney. I mean, attorneys are great. We have a whole network of attorneys. Nothing wrong with estate planning attorneys, but I think for the average person, it can be kind of intimidating. Obviously, you're paying a high hourly rate, and you're not exactly sure how those
Well, the
hours are
meter's
being
always running,
tallied.
so it's like
And
there's always in the back of
exactly,
your head that the meter's going,
exactly,
so it's always an uncomfortable conversation. Well, for
yeah.
people that are price conscious.
And I think a lot of people don't want to. Exactly. I think a lot of people don't want to go through that process. We have our attorney support, but a lot of people use FastWill specifically not to speak with an attorney, just because they want to get this stuff done from home. They want to sit with their spouse or whoever it may be, and just take care of this stuff and not have to go into some official meeting and kind of feel nervous and not know, hey, does this guy have
Well,
his
I
best
also think
intentions?
if you're doing like a Zoom call with an attorney, whether it's true or not, you're subconsciously thinking this is probably a little less than going into the office potentially,
A
right? Like,
100%,
yeah,
100%, and that's a real feeling. And I think that probably contributes to why such a large percentage of people don't have estate plans. Is just that mental. Okay, we got to find a law firm. We got to go and schedule an appointment. We got to drive, and it's not as simple as just pull. You can do it on your phone.
Know. That's why so much of it is done through referral. And if you don't have somebody that's referring to you, you're lost. So
100%. And of course, there's situations where, if someone has $10 million worth of real estate, $20 million, you have different tax situations. Of course, there's need to meet with an estate planning attorney. There's different cases out there. But what FastWill is really for is just that average person that's been working, saving for retirement, owns a home, has a family, that just wants to get this stuff done. And especially, as I said,
I'm
on the
sure
trust
that's a
side.
large population of people.
Oh, it's most people. I mean, the majority of people do not need to see an estate planning attorney. I mean, again, if you have a business, if you're in real estate, it might be different. There's different tax issues. There's different things you can do with property. But that's not most people. I mean, 95% of people, probably 99% of people just need a will and a trust. More wills, but again, I hit on that in the beginning, that I just think there's so much more needs for trust. A trust avoids probate, and you're at a place in the market where you can get a trust for very, very cheap, for cost effective. I don't want to say cheap, but it's just a very competitive price. Our trust is $4.99. We do a couples trust for $5.99, and
what is that, like a personal property trust for the home? Is that
it's a revocable living trust.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a revocable living trust, exactly, and that avoids the probate process. So
And for those of you listening, a revocable trust has nothing to do with asset protection. We're talking estate planning here. So asset protection is in and of itself another entity, another thing that we're talking about. The revocable trust is for probate, to avoid probate. Think of it as a luggage where you put all your assets in, you carry them around, and they're all contained within this revocable living trust. Zach, you said stuff. And if I'm listening to this and I'm younger, where do I start? Where are some of the things that I should start with? Let's start with that avatar first, and then I want to move on to the person who has accumulated some stuff.
Right. So when I say stuff, I think it's an easier way to sort of encapsulate possessions, because I think sometimes people say, well, I don't have a building. I don't have a property. I don't own a home yet. I don't have a Goldman Sachs investment account. Right. So oftentimes, those aren't the things that cause the most disputes. So the first thing to think of is just your family and who you trust, and hopefully you trust everyone in your family. But as we know, at Thanksgiving, Christmas times, there are going to be different personalities, there can be different characters there. So just thinking about, who do you trust and what's important to you? What are the things that are very important to you? Where do you see yourself going in life? What's the plan? I mean, Gino, as you alluded to, there's lots of different stages that people can be at. We're all at a different chapter in our own book. I think with estate planning and financial services as well, life events are a big, big thing. So someone getting married, someone having kids, someone buying a home, someone about to retire, these are all great times to do estate planning. And at each one of those stages, you're going to have a variety of questions. The good thing about our system is that it learns with you. So we have a closed source AI, and I can explain the difference between what that is and something like ChatGPT. But our system actually gets to know you as you fill out the questions. So whatever your answers are, it's going to change the question flow based off of the questions you answered. So really, wherever you are in the process, our system will take you through it and make it real easy. I mean, we even have definitions on what some key terms mean, like trustee and executor and stuff like that. So really, wherever you're at in life, you can go through our process, and we make it real easy. And then we also have a FastWill members program that has unlimited editability. So you can edit if your life does change. If you do just want to start out with a basic will or basic trust, you're getting married. As your life situation changes, you can go back and tweak that, meet with your same attorney, renotarize. So it's all stored on our system.
I love that. It puts me right into my next question, which is if I've got some of these documents and I haven't done them in years, because you should be looking at your documents regularly, possibly once a year, updating the assets that you have. So at the end of the year, you're like, oh, I've got another property. I've got some more jewelry. I've got some other assets that I've accumulated. Let's say I have some of this stuff and I want to go and use FastWill. Are you able to look at somebody's stuff that they have and possibly update their stuff with them?
Absolutely. We can include anything you have on former documents. Also, if you have a will and you want to add on a trust, we can add a trust and keep the existing will that you have. It's very easy to edit different sections of the will. We also have a user profile that sort of, in finance, we call it a fact finder, but it's also for the user just to have an overview of their current assets, their current policies, what they have going on in their life. And they're always going to be able to return to that to get an accurate picture on what their estate looks like, what they have covered. There's also some detailed information. We have a whole financial section of the flow. People don't have to opt into it, but they can if they like. That asks them questions about how much they're saving, retirement, and gives them some projections and stuff like that. So to answer your question, we try and do a good job of updating that information and also updating the information for the user so they know where they're at in their life journey.
Last question before we go to the short answers. What is your goal with the company? Are you looking, like you said, you've expanded all 50 states, looking ultimately to sell out, continue the growth? What is your goal with the company?
I think we'll continue the growth for the next several years, mainly in our B2B partnerships. We have a lot of really big things going on in the group benefit space. I think that's going to be a huge space for us is PEPM plans, per employee per month, where people opt in annually and they can either do it themselves or give it to friends and family members. So we're starting to land, a lot of those larger contracts. So I definitely want to maximize that growth. And then after that, I think we're either looking to IPO or sell. I'm not really sure which one. As you guys know, you have to have different conversations. There's different deals that are out there, but we're definitely going to be grinding forward for the next 3 or 4 years or so, just maximizing those relationships, and then we'll probably be at a place where we can have a conversation.
So let's just take Amazon for example. You have a conversation with Amazon, and they can actually offer this as a group benefit. And I'm sure you'd give the company a steep discount. They could offer it as a group benefit to their employees, and then they could start using it. Am I understanding that side of it correctly?
100%. That's exactly it. And then those can either be rev share deals or they can just be added on to improve the value. Because, for example, like with Amazon, it's a great example. They're using a company to do that. So they're using a third-party company to provide those.
Because we've looked at those for our company, but we've kept it in house. What are those called?
It'd just be benefits providers.
No, well, there's shit, man. There's these companies that actually like manage your health care and benefits. They're like PP somethings, or I don't know. You guys are not on the same page right now.
No, I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember.
That's okay. That's okay. I didn't know.
When you're smaller, that's the companies you use because you haven't gotten to scale yet. So it's more efficient to use those companies. But as you get bigger, it's like you're better off taking it in house and doing it yourself.
But yeah, Jake, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly the structure. We're able to give employees a massive discount on their plans. It's something they can opt into. And then, as I mentioned, one of the other cool things that we have is we're starting to extend those plans to friends and family members to get, a lot more of a referral network. And I think a lot of people really like that too, because if you are an employee 35 or 40 years old, you may have your parents in a certain situation where you're like, hey, I already have this for free. Let me just get this done now. So we always
It
like
seems
to.
like a logical evolution of things in terms of employer benefits, et cetera. So
100%, absolutely. And I think a lot of benefits providers are looking to provide a lot more of a holistic approach. You'll see with a lot of them, they focus on a lot of health stuff, health, or insurance or something like that. And they're leaving stuff on the table because these things go
obscure
very
shit
well
that
together.
people never use too. Like this is something everyone should be using. Like if you, to me, you get your health care, then maybe you set something like this up. The rest of it is, I don't even remember. I used to work for a large pharmaceutical company, and there was a host of shit that just no one ever used. And I was like, what is all this stuff? So very cool. Well,
100%.
let's take a quick time out here from our sponsor.
This episode of the Jake and Gino podcast is brought to you by Wheelbarrow Profits, the premier multifamily education community. Wheelbarrow Profits proof is in their results. Their members have closed over 86,000 units. That's over $5 billion in student deal volume. Are you serious about taking your real estate game to the next level? Do you have the confidence to take action? Schedule a call with the Wheelbarrow Profits team today and supercharge your real estate knowledge. Build lasting relationships through unparalleled networking opportunities. Obtain lasting knowledge on how to buy multifamily real estate with intensive training. Gain hands-on experience through their live events with like-minded individuals and industry professionals, all while experiencing the personal touch and family atmosphere that set them apart. Visit wheelbarrowprofits.com for more information.
All right, we are back. We're just going to get into estate planning a little bit broader right now. May not have the answers, but impacts of Big Beautiful. There was a bill that was passed recently. One of the things that caught my interest was there's a $25 million essential lifetime death benefit you and your wife can give, maybe 25 and a half or something, and that looks like it's extended into law. Yeah, for gifting.
Yes.
That's permanent, right? So if you're setting up a trust, for example, I think it's something like 12 million you can pass on to your kids, and your wife can do 12 or something, and it ends up being like around 25. That was set to expire, I believe, at the end of this year, and now that is permanent law for the foreseeable future. Is that correct? Did I read that correct? Did you guys see that?
I believe, I believe so. I know it's 11 or 12 million each. I wasn't aware
because that was set to expire this year. So I was kind of keeping an eye on that, and that was one of the things. Anything else from the bill that was recently passed in, and it may not be your strong suit, so feel free to pass on this. But I find this stuff interesting. So anything that you've seen there that you want to comment on?
Just my thoughts on the bill passing.
No, and pertaining to estate planning specifically. So that was one that I was kind of keeping an eye on. Anything else in the bill that was relevant to your space? And again, if it's not something you've been looking into, that's cool too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would just say that's not really our space. I think we're sort of for that average person. I mean, if you're in a situation where you're really trying to take advantage of that pass through, I mean, that's pretty good, right? I mean, if you're high enough to where you're getting gifted 10 million from each, that's not exactly our market. You probably want to meet with an estate planning attorney, probably got other stuff going on there. I'm sure it's not all in cash. I'm sure it's a collection of stock and real estate and stuff like that. So, I that's not really our market. Again, our market is really just for that average person that wants to come and create a basic will, a basic trust for an affordable price that, again, is in the range of $500K to about $3 million. So that's kind of our sweet spot. Again,
and how long does it take for someone to complete that with you guys?
Yeah, so a will is about 15 to 20 minutes, and the trust, I would say, is anywhere from 30 to 40, just depending if you have all your documents in front of you, your statements and stuff like that.
Come on, man. He said, come on, man, Sunday morning football. Really, that's it?
That's it. And you get all that detail I mentioned, too. So, just because it's a relatively short process.
Is that a living trust for your home or something like that? Or are we talking ILETs, slats? What you guys do those as well?
It's a revocable living trust. It's funny you mentioned that. We're actually coming out with an irrevocable trust in the next few months to pursue the accounting market. But currently, it is a revocable living trust, and then a last will and testament is
okay. And then I'm pretty sure that's what we have. Like that's typically you put your home in it, right? your
Yes,
house or something.
exactly.
That's the main use of that, the living trust, right?
You put all your assets in there. That's what you would do. You put your assets. So then when you pass
Well, no,
away,
I mean it depends though. Like, because like you probably have your house in a living trust, but then the rest of your stuff in your slat, right?
if you have a slat's irrevocable. So that's you're Jake, you're next level, brother. I mean, like you're not at the 3 million anymore. You're like
Yeah.
you're up here, brother.
Well, I mean,
So
we're just having the conversation though too. For we got some folks we got some folks with some
Rich
bones
real
listening,
estate guys.
right? So yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and Jake, just to hit on that, we also have funding instructions included in our trust package. So we have instructions on how to fund the trust and stuff like that.
So two more questions for you here. You mentioned eyelets.
There's a grantor retained annuity trust, by the way.
That's what I was asking.
I
So
heard
what
that.
is that?
It's just another estate planning vehicle. You just transfer your assets and you receive annuity payments from the trust.
Gotcha. So it's a way to continue to
Receive
paid while
payments. So
having
you're rolling into an
revocable
annuity
trust.
and receiving payments from the trust. Exactly. So there's annuity inside the trust and it's paying you out.
Okay. Last question for you. Probably the obvious question is the earlier the better. But I don't know if the average life expectancy, if you combine men and women in the U.S. is 70 or something like that. What is the ideal age to get the will and get the living trust? When should people really start doing this?
Of course, I'd say anytime. I think as soon as you start to accumulate assets, it's probably a good idea. Again, I also mentioned the life events thing. So if you're getting married, if you're having kids, if you're buying a home, these are great times to get estate planning done. Hopefully, you've done it before retirement, but if you are about to retire or move to a different stage, I'd highly recommend getting a will or trust. So yeah, Jake, I would really say life events, man. So if you're getting married, if you're having kids, if you're having a home, that's when you really need a will and a trust. I would advocate that everyone have one and continuously update it as they get older. But when you have those life events, you definitely want to trust.
It seems like when you knock out that first kid, and I'm saying first because you should have many here. When you get that first one done, you got to start. No ifs, ands, or buts. Got to get it done. No BS. So, all right, Gino, take us home.
Zach, where can the listeners get a hold of you before we wrap up the show? And I'll give my outro.
Yeah, so our website is real simple, fastwill.com, FASTWILL.com. I'm also on all social platforms, just my first and last name, Zach Tsakiris. I like to make a lot of content, videos on estate planning, finance, and just kind of whatever. So you can check out my personal socials. You can go to fastwill.com. You can go to all of our company social pages. So, of course, we have a LinkedIn and Instagram, all that good stuff. So yeah, if you're looking to just check out estate planning, learn more about what we do, you can come to our site. We also have a professional section of our site. So if you're currently an agent, head of a benefits company, financial advisor, anything like that, you can come check out, all the SaaS and platforms we have for advisors that want to help their clients.
Zach, at a young age, was in the real estate business. His father was in the land. He's like, dude, I don't want to do this. This is a grind. I got to get out of this gig. So what does he do? He turns to financial services. I thought that was a little ironic, but it's okay. He enjoyed, I think he enjoyed the business there, but it was really hard being young, trying to, resonate with a 65-year-old when you're only 23 or 24. He goes into it. It was very interesting. He started niching down, and he landed into the estate planning space. And he looked up and he's like, there's a need here. There are about 70% of this people in this world, in this country, that don't have estate planning. And it's ironic because most of those people, I would say, fall into the middle class or lower middle class, because people who have higher net worths are the ones who tend to take care of their money and actually leave legacies. So what Zach's created here is incredible. And for me to share my personal story, in 2007, when my father was sick, we didn't have estate planning. And, the last month that he was alive, I remember having the accountant and the priest there. My father's having last rites. The accountant's there trying to figure out a will and trying to figure out how to pass these assets with little to no estate taxes. And I don't want anybody listening to this to go through that, because my mom didn't have the time to be able to grieve my father, the stress that she was under.
Not the time to be doing it.
The decision-making wasn't there. And you look back at it, she had an irrevocable trust that my father, we sold the business in 2020. She still had that thing open because that was part of her life that she didn't want to close. So if you're listening to this, Don't say, hey, I'll take my time. This is something that's urgent. This is something that needs to get done. And don't let me hear you say, well, I'm not like Jake. I ain't balling like Jake. You don't have to be balling. All you have to do is you have to have
get balling. If you ain't balling, get balling.
Well, that's the other thing. But let's say you're going to, but let's start the plan today because you want to be able to have a legacy. You don't want to leave the burden onto the next generation. Zach, thanks for being on. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you guys so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
All right, gang. As always, we believe in buying deals for the long term. Think in decades. I'm Jake. He is the G Daddy, and we make it happen. Once you get that first kid, get the will going. We'll see you next time.